There are a lot of questions surrounding the New York Jets. Can Zach Wilson stay healthy? Can he even be the guy?
I'm the guy.
Did they do enough in grabbing Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall in the draft to make him look better? Can he be better? Will Sauce Gardner be a D. Milliner, or will he live up to the hype and become a Darrelle Revis? It's New York, the Big Apple. Can Robert Saleh elevate this team to be relevant again, to matter again?
Before we jump into all the moves the Jets made this offseason, we are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. If you want to see NFL content from us every single week, click the subscribe button and don't forget to like the video.
But now we go to the last, but not least, team in the AFC East, and that is the New York Jets. Very interesting offseason for their quarterback, but they've also had a very good offseason in general, a lot of moves, obviously. In regards to who they lost real quick, lost safety Marcus May, linebacker Jared Davis, wide receiver Jamison Crowder, and tackle Morgan Moses. Technically, Mekhi Becton they have lost for probably the whole season as he's dealing with another knee injury, but still on the roster. But because of that injury, they brought in tackle Dwayne Brown, formerly of the Seahawks, brought in tight end CJ Uzomah from the Bengals, guard Laken Tomlinson, so stealing from Kyle Shanahan because he was from San Francisco, kicker Greg Zuerlein, linebacker Quan Alexander, and former top 2 pick Solomon Thomas on the D-line. But in the draft, obviously, I think we talked about draft-wise, loved their draft. Grabbed cornerback Ahmad Sauce Gardner at pick number 4. It was consensus top 2 corner. Wide receiver Garrett Wilson, who I know John was high on, and I will say, after watching a little more preseason, I'm starting to see it. Obviously, we'll see it in the regular season, but nonetheless. Also grabbed edge rusher Jermaine Johnson at the end of the first, and then running back Breece Hall in the second, and then a tight end I liked, which was Jeremy Ruckert in the third round as well. So a little good mix of addressing the defensive needs, and then getting pieces for Zach Wilson. Fortunately, Zach Wilson I'm assuming he's going to miss week 1. They've kind of been mentioning they're going to play it safe. So nonetheless, looks like Joe Flacco will be the week 1 starter, but they get Zach Wilson back. So John, what are your expectations for the New York Jets?
I like a lot of the moves the Jets have made recently. Obviously, we talked about their draft afterwards. We were both really high on it. And that sort of happens when you go out and you get 3 guys in the first round, you trade up early in the second round, you get a lot of high picks. And yeah, overall, I'm just really excited about the Jets' future. I don't think this is going to be a year quite yet where they're going to make this massive jump, but I like a lot of what they're doing. And I think that maybe not this year, but maybe next year, it could be the year where we start to see a lot of these pieces come together and things start to make big moves. But ultimately, I still think that this team is going to be a pain for a lot of people. As long as Zach Wilson gets healthy and we start to see him develop more, then I think this offense could go to the next level. I love the addition of Breece Hall because I like Michael Carter. I like Ty Johnson. I like Tevin Coleman, but I think all of them were backs which at this point in their careers, and then at least for Michael Carter in terms of what his strengths are not going to be your lead back. And I think that Michael Carter, in the time that he did get to be that RB1 for them last year, he was very serviceable, but I think we really saw when Mike White came in that Michael Carter was really good as being that J.D. McKissick type of role where he had a game where he caught like 11 catches. And so I think that with him, I would love the combo of him and Breece Hall to really show off this year, because I think Breece, to me, and we talked about this in our draft rankings, but he reminds me so much of Jonathan Taylor in terms of their strengths, their speed, what they're able to do, the explosiveness, the overall build that they have with their body. They're just very similar type of profiles. And I think that having Michael Carter in that offense, he can be your Nyheim Hines. He can be the guy who is going to come in and just be that explosive playmaker in a variety of ways, whether it's running, whether it's passing, whether it's jet sweeps, whatever. I think that he can do that and help keep Breece Hall healthy. And so I'm really excited for the combo of those two. I love the young receiver core. This is back-to-back years they drafted 2 receivers that I'm incredibly high on. Garrett Wilson was my number 1 receiver in the class, and Elijah Moore was in my top 5 the previous year. I love both of them. I think they're going to have great seasons, and they still have Corey Davis, so they got a solid veteran there. They also have my guy Denzel Mims from Baylor. I kind of hope that they would cut him or trade him because they just haven't really ever given him a ton of opportunity. And at least in this past preseason game, we saw that when he gets chances, he can make plays. He had 7 catches over 100 yards. I think he had a touchdown as well. And so I just love to see him in another offense, just because I think that with Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, and Garrett Wilson, who are all, at least as of right now, more proven, or in Garrett Wilson's case, more talented. I think that Mims he doesn't have a starting spot in that offense, and so I'd like to see him go elsewhere. But I think a really underrated part about what the Jets did this offseason is the offensive line. It really sucks you lose Mekhi Becton, but Dwayne Brown is a very solid, sturdy veteran. I think that he can be a really solid force for them on the offensive line, because although he's not what he was at his peak, where he was just this elite monster of a left tackle, he's very savvy. He's like Andrew Whitworth has been for the Rams the last couple of years. I think that he can just be a really solidifying presence for them on the left side. Laken Tomlinson, I think, is a really underrated addition. He was a monster in the run game for the 49ers. He didn't have the greatest start to his career after being drafted so highly, but when he went to San Francisco, learning their systems, their schemes, he was an absolute beast, and he obviously has familiarity with Mike LaFleur. Previously, the offensive coordinator before Mike McDaniels in San Francisco, so they have that familiarity there. And once again, with multiple running backs, Breece Hall, Michael Carter, I think we can start to see more of that 49ers offensive influence there. And so I really love what they were able to do on offense. Also, George Fant, he was supposed to be their left tackle. He's moving over to right because of Dwayne Brown coming in. He's solid. Elijah Vera Tucker going into another year. And so I'm really excited for what this young Jets offense can do with the veterans on the offensive line. I think that they could make a lot of noise and surprise a lot of people this year, because I think the Jets have just been a team that a lot of people have counted out for quite some time, ever since pretty much the late 2000s, when they had Darrelle Revis, Antonio Cromartie, that crazy defense all in their primes. The Jets just really haven't been a competitive team since then, but I think they're making strides in the right direction, and I'd love to see them make a really solid jump in terms of just their overall competitiveness this year. On defense, I don't think that any move outside of Sauce Gardner really pops off the page to me in the terms of additions, but I think they added a lot of solid pieces, like Quan Alexander. He's bounced around. He's been on a couple different teams, but I think he's a really solid veteran linebacker that can just add athleticism. He can add depth too, because CJ Mosley has struggled with injuries while he's been in New York for a while. Same with Solomon Thomas. Once again, familiarity with the coaching staff. Robert Saleh had him on his defense when he was over there in San Francisco, and so I like that he's coming over there. Jermaine Johnson out of the first round, too, is a really solid speed edge rusher. I don't think he's going to be their starter off the edge right away, but I think he's that guy that you can bring in on third downs, be an immediate impact pass rusher, and then as he starts to get more and more attuned to the physicality of the NFL, then we can start to see him get more and more playing time as the year goes on. So I'm really excited for the Jets. I think they're making a lot of great moves. And although I don't think, like I said, that this year is going to be the year that they make that jump, I think that they definitely could be a pain for a lot of teams this season.
All right. So as also the president of the Zach Wilson fan club, yeah, I'm right with you. I don't think this is, as much as I like the Jets, I don't think that they're going to be in the playoffs or in that conversation. Very tough start of the schedule. Like, they made the joke on Pro Football Talk, like, who do they upset in the league office? Because they start off with the Ravens, which the Ravens we assume to be back, which we'll talk about them. And also we'll talk about the Browns at Browns, which won't be easy, but hey, maybe they get a win there without Deshaun Watson. And then Bengals, and then at Steelers. At Steelers, never an easy place to play. And they get their Dolphins, and then at Packers, at Broncos, the Patriots, Bills, and then they finally get their bye, and then they play the Patriots one more time. And then from there, the schedule gets a little bit lighter with Bears, Vikings, Lions, Jaguars, and Seahawks. But yeah, very tough start of the year for them. A lot of good physical defenses, so their line's going to be tested very, very early. And obviously, we hope that Zach Wilson can get back for one of those early games as soon as possible, so we can see how he basically plays against it, how he reacts to that. But yeah, I am with you. I think it's going to be very just an annoying team to play. Probably be one of those teams where they're gonna be, it's like, oh, they were like 2-7 in one possession games. So yeah, I think this is obviously, they can mention, very young team, still a lot of pieces need to grow and find their way. But yeah, like I said, like you already mentioned, love Sauce Gardner. I like Jermaine Johnson a lot. And then they get Carl Lawson back too. He missed all of that. He got injured. Remember last year they got hit with the injury bug real bad. They lost him and Jared Davis, the linebacker they had signed. So hopefully they can get him back, although he's, I think, coming off an Achilles injury, which can always be scary. But they still have good defensive line depth, and John Franklin Myers I think he's out of SFA, and then obviously Quinton Williams has been really good for them in the middle. So I like what the Jets are building, but like John mentioned, and I'll say one more time, don't think they'll make it in the playoffs. But as long as they can improve on the field, I think this will be a good year for them. And obviously, we'll see what they do next year and what they address. But definitely a team I'll probably tune into just because once again I'm a Zach Wilson fan, but not tune into too much because don't expect too much from them. So good things going in New York. To be patient, Jets fans. It'll come. It'll happen. Just probably not this year.